Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football, continuing to take a look at the next week's slate, heading back out to the Big 12. The Oklahoma Sooners heading on the road to play BYU. Provo, Utah, a very hard place to play. If you're an Oklahoma fan, how you're looking at this game is you want to have that same mentality you had against West Virginia Saturday night, and you want to take that mentality on the road. And that's something we've talked about a lot with Oklahoma. And this is a team that in those two losses just didn't play with that same mentality that they had against Texas, that they had in the beginning of the season. You saw it again Saturday night. Let's see it again this Saturday in BYU. Really excited to get into this one. Before we do, just want to say thank you to you guys. And of course, a special shout out to the Sooner fans. This is a program we talk a lot about. The amount of support you guys show, it truly does mean a lot. If you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. And more importantly, would love to hear your guys' takes in the comment section. We'll chop it up there. Without further ado, let's get into this matchup. And I want to start with kind of the vibes around this Oklahoma program. And I get two losses that you look back on and say, we were the better team in both of those games. But you take a look back where we were 12 months ago and what we were talking about with this Oklahoma team, and you can't ignore what Brent Venables is building in Norman. And you take a look up at the overall numbers from the season. This is a team that's averaging 42 points per game. That's fifth in the country. And you look on the defensive side of the ball, 21 points per game. That's top 20 in the country. Like, this is an Oklahoma team that is one of the better teams. And I get two ugly losses that you probably should have won. If you play 10 times, you might win 8 or 9 of them. But you look at this program and say it's in a way better spot than it was 12 months ago. And you want to continue to see that momentum and that mentality to finish out this season. Now, I want to start with this Oklahoma offense going up against the BYU defense that has really struggled this year, specifically stopping the run. And you look at BYU allowing 30 points per game. That's 94th in the country. But the bugaboo for this BYU team has been the rush defense, has been dreadful. I mean, averaging 5 yards. Opponents are averaging 5.1 yards per carry. That's 120th in the country. And you look at Oklahoma and what they want to do. And we've said this and we've had this conversation plenty of times before. This Oklahoma offense, it's at its peak when they've established the run. And they're working that RPO off it, attacking the middle of the field. If you're Oklahoma heading on the road here, what travels? The run game. And what you've seen from this Oklahoma team the last couple of weeks, even when they lost to Kansas, even when they lost to Oklahoma State, the run game has been there. Whether it's Tyree Walker, in this case, it looks like it's going to be Gavin Sawchuk. This offensive line is moving bodies. I mean, that gap scheme blocking, they are moving the line of scrimmage, getting to the next level, giving those running backs a lot of space to operate in. And Gavin Sawchuk, I think, well, going back and watching that game, he looks way more comfortable in space, making that first defender miss. And this Oklahoma offensive line, the way they are road grading, if you give Gavin Sawchuk a one-on-one opportunity at the next level, he's going to continue to make those guys miss, pop off those big runs. You're looking to the future right now. Like, Gavin Sawchuk looks to be a guy that is going to be a staple in this Oklahoma offense. And when you get that run game going, that is when you want to see this passing attack really attack that deeper third, attack the middle of the field. My biggest problem with the Kansas and Oklahoma State game was that run game was there. Like, the running backs were running the ball extremely well. They did not marry that RPO, that passing attack, with the run game very well. You saw them do it against West Virginia. I mean, so much in that Oklahoma State and Kansas game, attacking the outside, not being aggressive, pushing the ball down the field, that went away against West Virginia. Jeff Lebby opened this offense up, and you want to see them continue to do that throughout the last couple of games of this season, because that's when this Oklahoma offense is at its best. Drake Stoops stepping up in a massive way. He's him. Like, he's a guy that you look to who's going to take the reins of being a leader in that locker room after back-to-back losses. It's Drake Stoops. And then you have a bunch of young guys that are coming along as well. Nick Anderson, I would like to see a little bit more. Jaquez Petaway. At the end of the day, this Oklahoma offense has another opportunity to go up against a BYU defense that just, quite frankly, doesn't have the guys to match up. I want to see this Sooners team have that mentality. If we're going to go not only win this game, we are going to dominate this football game. We're going to have our full offense. We're going to run the ball. We're going to marry that RPO, attack in the middle of the field. If they do that, they are going to hang 40 points on BYU, I think, on this defense. Now, flipping the sides, a very similar narrative for Oklahoma on the defensive side of the football. You got the guys. Getting Danny Stutzman back has been massive. I want to see that Oklahoma defense, instead of just playing not to give up the big play, that bend but don't break mentality that I think you saw against Kansas and Oklahoma State, go out and dominate a football game. That's what you saw them do against West Virginia. They blitzed over half of the dropbacks that West Virginia had. Oklahoma was sending pressure. That's the Brent Venables defense that we want to see. You look at Oklahoma, I mean, Danny Stutzman, Kip Lewis, that looks like the linebacking group that you want to see for Oklahoma. Brent Venables, it's his child, the linebacker position. The progression you've seen from Kip Lewis, like, you have to be fired up about what the future looks like for a guy like Kip Lewis. And in the back end, they have the guys to match up. You look at BYU's offense, the last 3 games, they've scored 13 points, 7 points, 6 points. They have a quarterback in Jeff Retzlaff who just has not really he hasn't really scared anyone. And he's not pushing. They're not throwing the football very well. You look at the numbers on the season, only 20 points per game. That's 110th. 4.5 yards per play. That's 120th. They really struggle to run the football. Only 3.3 yards per carry. That's 110th. And they don't have much of an explosive passing game. Only averaging 5.7 yards per pass attempt. You look at the recipe for Oklahoma, and it's something that we talked about. When Oklahoma's defense is playing their best, they're dominant against the run. They're winning on first and second down. And then what do when they get opponents into those third and long situations? They send pressure. They try to be aggressive, make those impact plays. This was an Oklahoma defense that 4 weeks ago we were talking about leading the country in tackles for a loss. You saw that go away, that mentality go away against Kansas, against Oklahoma State. BYU's offense represents an opportunity to win on first and second down. BYU has really struggled to run the football. And when you win on first and second down, you get that 3rd and 7+ look, go send pressure. And again, you look at this BYU wide receiver room, I think they got some guys, but I think the quarterback play is such a question mark that you're going to be confident with your matchups on the outside, and you're going to go bring some pressure. If you're Oklahoma's defense, you're going up against the BYU offense that the last 3 weeks just has not had many answers. Go out on the road, defense travels, and go dominate a football game. Now, getting to the pick here, you take a look, Oklahoma 22-point favorites on the road. The college football fan in me would say BYU as 3-score dogs. I'm probably going to lean BYU. But if you see the same Oklahoma team that you saw Saturday night in Norman and it travels on the road to BYU, you have to feel really good about Oklahoma not only winning this football game. That, in my mind, this game is not, let's go out and try to win a football game. Let's go out and dominate a football game. That's what the mentality, I think, should be for Brent Venables in this Oklahoma team. I think they had that mentality at home against West Virginia. I think they had that mentality earlier in the year. I don't think you had that mentality against Oklahoma State and against Kansas. I want to see that mentality for the Sooners. I think they covered this one by 3 scores. This is a team that it's one of the best teams in college football. When they're playing with that mentality, I want to see that against BYU. Give me the Sooners covering the 3 scores. Hey, when you go to Provo, it's hard to come out with the win. I want Oklahoma to have that mentality of dominating a football game. Appreciate you guys rocking with the fellas. Again, if you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.